let me come back to the Manufacturing Corporate Governance Committee. When we met, there were a lot of discussions, and the final report came out, I think, rather nicely. The main point at that time, you can ignore this 1 year of hiccup in our economy. Main point is that we had targeted a growth of 9% overall. And we have three sectors, basically the manufacturing sector, or rather it's called the industry sector, which includes the manufacturing sector. The industry sector, the agricultural sector, and the services sector. As of 4-5 years ago, I think the numbers haven't changed very much. The services sector accounts for about 50% of the economy. The agricultural sector accounts for about 20% of the economy. And the remaining is in the industry sector. Actually, 25% is the industry sector and 22% for the agricultural sector, and the remaining is services, 52% or so. Out of this 25% in the industry sector, the manufacturing sector contributes about 17%, which is much lower than most other countries, even developing countries. You can take Vietnam if you want to. Take a small country, but Vietnam will beat you by a factor of 2. So you have to watch out in India. The manufacturing sector's contribution has not increased significantly. It's increasing now. Scope is very positive. But the idea was, if you want a 9% increase in the economy, agricultural sector cannot be expected to grow faster than 4% in terms of economic contributions. And you have a limit on the services sector. There's some fluctuations. If you take all that into account, the conclusion was that the manufacturing sector has to grow at 12%. And there are two constraints to growth in a country like India. Unlike other developed countries, you're not looking for just economic growth, you're also looking for employment. And that's where the small and medium, micro has been added, because the old small industries have become, again, somewhat large in terms of investment. There used to be a time when 10 lakhs was small industry. 10 lakhs you do nothing, you can't even get into a medical college, you can't get into an engineering college. So we will not start the industry. Now I think all the numbers have gone up tremendously. So they introduced micro, then they introduced nano, I'm sure, next thing. So it will come in again. Because the micro will become too big. But the whole point about this whole sector is that it generates much more employment per unit of investment than the large scale sector. And therefore it's very, very important. But to a large extent, this is the unorganized sector. Secondly, the real problems here are not technological, they are more managerial. And they are actually problems that are a result of a non-ideality in the system rather than anything else. But I think I've learned of late that management schools teach you how to deal with non-ideality in a pragmatic way. So that you work around it, you cost it into the schemes and so on. You know, they used to say earlier that the Tamil Nadu government, although it was corrupt, it was very predictably corrupt, and therefore industry could thrive. But they knew what the corruption was. Before you get very cynical, let me tell you what B.K. Nehru said. B.K. Nehru used to be ambassador in UK long ago. 20 years ago, he gave a talk here, an external talk. And he explained that corruption was not a peculiarity of India, although we get listed all the time. The fact is that in all countries where services are inexpensive and goods are expensive, there will be tremendous corruption. Whereas where services are expensive and goods are inexpensive, like in the US, they have socialism. The barber comes in a Cadillac. You go in a small car and he will come, the haircut, he says, will have a huge Cadillac. Because the car is very inexpensive and the service is very expensive. I mean, for the same haircut that you will get away with, price has gone up in India. But what you pay 40 rupees for, you will pay for at least $50-60 there. So that most Indians get their haircuts once a year in India. But let me come back. So one of the important things is, how do you grow the micro, small and medium scale industries? Lots of rules, lots of provisions. But one of the problems is that these industries become unaware of these provisions. Secondly, we don't allow parallel processing in this country. You don't list all the things required to start a small industry. You do one thing and then you meet the officer and says, oh, you finished that. Oh, you have this to do. Then he'll give you the next one. We have the same experience with our research part. We found it's not, the number of clearances is not different from the US. But the US, they tell you all the clearances you have to get and how you can parallel process your preparation. Here it goes one after the other. They won't tell you the second one before you finish the first one. So it's sequential processing. That's the big difference. But it's the same thing happens in small and medium scale industries. The other problem in small industries was At least there was one time when I was very interested in this topic, way back in 70s. There was a Krishnasamy who was chairman of the Small Industries Association. And I've actually worked with him. I was assistant professor in chemical engineering, and there's some industries with wonderful technology that failed. In fact, 70% of small industries used to fail at that time. We've got a better record now. But they failed primarily because of cash flow problems. It's simply a matter of managing. You sell something, you have to get your payment, and you sell it to a big industry, they delay the payment. And this has been a constant problem. And the banks typically will do, Gopalakrishnan will confirm this, they will give you 85% of the money and allow the industry to fail, but won't give you 100% of the money. That is on sales. Means they have their policies too. But if you sell something, you can get 85% of the money from the bank, but that 15% will be your cash flow, and you won't be able to manage your industry that way. So this has been a serious problem. But essentially, the measures suggested in the Manufacturing Competence Committee report, which was actually accepted by the Cabinet, by the Prime Minister and Cabinet, are actually very good. But the implementation still has a long way to go. I think one of the things to do is decentralize this. Create things like this, like what we are doing here, initiatives everywhere, where locally you can fund, at least in the beginning, to get the innovator started. And subsequently also, you have to make sure that he is aware of all the privileges that he has. Many privileges are provided for in the law, but they are not taken advantage of simply because he is unaware of it. Sometimes the officer sitting in charge dispensing this also is unaware of it. So you have to read and bring it to his notice saying, look, there is provision for this in the law and so on. So that's another reason why you need programs like this, even just to create awareness. And a person doing it from the management studies makes a lot of sense, because they'll give you another small perspective.